my colleagues, Councilor James Pasternak and Councilor Bradford, and as well the acting president of the TPA, Robin Oliphant, for joining me here today. And it's always good to be able to be out and talk about good news, especially after a period of time when we've had lots of news that has caused people to be disconcerted. In 2016, the Bike Share Toronto network started with just 1,000 bikes and 80 docking stations. So that's 4 years ago, 1,000 bikes and 80 docking stations. But since that time, the popularity of bike share has continued to increase with each new expansion announcement. The numbers reflected success as we hit more than 10 million trips taken to date. In just the last 12 months, year over year, membership has increased by 60% from 146,000 to 234,000. So today, I'm very pleased to announce that starting tomorrow, the bike share network will expand even more and will, after that expansion, be available in 20 of the city's 25 wards. The wards, of course, being the areas of the city that is divided up for purposes of city council representation and some service delivery. The system will grow to 6,850 bikes, 625 stations, and 12,000 docking stations, the individual stations within the larger stations where the bikes are put away when they're finished with. We will now have stations located as far north as Yonge Street at Yonge Boulevard, as far west as Long Branch GO Station, and as far east as the Danforth at Birchmount. Stations will also be installed in Swansea, Babby Point, the Queensway, Humber Bay, York, and O'Connor Parkview. So this expansion will also see the installation of 2 satellite pilot systems in North York and in Scarborough. In North York, bike share stations will be installed along the Finch Hydro Corridor near Finch West Subway Station and near York University. In Scarborough, you will see stations near Guildwood GO Station, along the Highland Creek Trail, near the University of Toronto Scarborough campus, the Rouge Hill GO Station, and the Waterfront Trail. We will monitor all of these pilot stations to assess their use and performance over a determined period of time to make sense that their location there makes sense for the residents. We are doing all of this because it is necessary and because it is part of a 21st century city. Residents are looking for different and yet safe ways to get around the city. And as we continue to respond to the pandemic and make our plans for the post-pandemic period, residents want to go outside, they want to be active, they want to have those transportation alternatives, and it's our job as a city and working with organizations like the TPA to make that happen. So as part of the city's own response to these circumstances, we launched Active TO. And that, of course, proudly includes street closures on the weekends, Lakeshore East, Lakeshore West, Bayview Avenue, to cite the initial very successful examples. I saw the Lakeshore East section of Active TO again on the weekend and was just astounded at the number of people that are out and about using all means of transportation, foot, stroller, bicycle, rollerblades, you name it. We are noticing that people are not only using the bike share to take advantage of the Active TO street closures, for example, but increasingly to get around the city in general. We've seen membership numbers increase at a remarkable rate, and we're also hitting other new records with this program. We hit a new all-time record this past weekend, for example, with the highest number of rides on a single weekend. There were over 36,000 trips taken on the 6th and 7th of June of this year. And we had the highest ridership day ever on May 23rd of this year. This is the kind of momentum we want to build on. This is the kind of momentum that justifies the additional investment in this program and what it stands for and what it's able to provide by way of transportation options. As I mentioned earlier, a big part of this expansion will be ensuring that all corners of this city will have access to bike share. This will mean that people can use their bikes to come all the way down to the core if they choose to do so, to take advantage of programs like Active TO, or that they can use it as well to get to other Active TO routes or to get to places even within their own neighborhoods. We are providing residents with safe alternatives to get moving. To make it easier for riders, the City Council just approved the expansion and acceleration of our city's cycling network plan, because obviously the broader the network, the more connected up that it is, the greater the opportunity to use bike shares or other bikes to get around the city. This initiative of the expansion of our city's cycling network plan, of course, involves 25 kilometers of new bikeways and the accelerated installation of 15 kilometers of previously planned on-street cycling lanes. The first kilometre of the new cycling lanes was installed last week on Dundas Street East, and work will begin soon on University Avenue. All of these changes will help our residents to get around easily and safely over the next few months. I'm also very excited to announce that another feature of this year's expansion is the launch of an e-bike pilot program in August. Included in the expansion numbers are 300 pedal assist e-bikes and 10 e-bike charging stations. We will have more to say over the summer on this program, which will help us provide an even more cleaner and greener option for residents getting around the city. Not quite as clean and green as a bike itself with the old foot power, but a very clean and green option to get around the city. We are also this summer anticipating the receipt of a report on scooters, and we're contemplating permitting some demonstration use on active TO closed roads to both gauge the user experience and to monitor other issues that arise from scooters. So I encourage residents to use bike share and to take advantage of the active TO street closures. I want to remind people as well, though, of the fact they should clean the bike before they use it. It's helpful just to put, as I do when I go shopping, a little plastic, one of those little plastic freezer bags in your pocket with some wet wipes in it. We have ramped up the cleaning as much as is practical for us to do when the bikes are located all over the city, but riders should continue to take some steps to protect themselves in the wake of the continuing public health issues. Before I finish, I would like to thank the other governments, the other orders of government, who have been strong supporters throughout of the bike share program. Indeed, a good solid portion of the expansion that we're here talking about today is financed by an Ontario government cycling program. Over the years, we've had significant financial support from both the Government of Ontario and the Government of Canada, and I want to thank them for investing in this program and for seeing all of the benefits that accrue in terms of, in no particular order, in terms of people's health, transportation options, the environment and protection of the environment, and a host of other things that flow from a successful program like this. It is indeed, bike share, a great way to get around the city, to see the city, a great way to spend an afternoon, a great way to get to and from work assignments. We've always seen the benefits that can come from cycling infrastructure, whether it's cutting down on congestion, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, maintaining physical distancing, or just keeping active, which we're all told we should do all of the time. I would now like to call, we have two people today who've been extremely supportive on the City Council of our continued investment in this program and in bike infrastructure, and I want to hear from them both, as I'm sure you do. And I'll call first on Councilor Pasternak to come up and provide you with some more information on what we're doing as a city to help people get around. James?
Thank you very much, Mayor Tory. Very pleased to be here with you today, along with Councilor Bradford, and with the added bonus of being out in this beautiful weather. As Chair of the Infrastructure and Environment Committee, I welcome the expansion of the Bike Share Toronto, which every year seems to become more and more a success story. I'm also very excited that the Bike Share expansion will also be coming to York Centre, the area that I represent at City Hall, along the Finch Hydro Corridor from Bathurst Street to York University. This year, Bike Share is taking on special significance because of the plans we have for our city through our Active TO initiatives. Active TO is about making sure that people have space to get outside, have space to get around while respecting physical distancing, and ensuring that we have a safe alternative to TTC. Our cycling network aligns with city policies to create affordable transportation options, to ensure safe cycling, to promote active living, physical fitness, and good health. And bike share is an important contribution to the shared economy. The unprecedented time that we are in gives us the impetus to look further ahead and decide how we can continue to keep people safe during COVID and post-COVID. Whether it's through the Major Streets for Active Transportation initiative we have going on right now, or expanding the cycling network initiative, we're working to help people better move people around the city. And bike share is an active part of that. There is a reason that bike share is popular and successful in major cities all over the world, because the benefits to a modern city are substantial and transformative. It is not only beneficial for local residents, it is also a great boost for visitors and tourists who come to our great city to enjoy our attractions. The investment the city makes in its bike share program and cycling networks produces a return on investment in a more livable, healthy, equitable, and vibrant city. This expansion is good government policy, excellent city building, and a responsible response to the challenges that we face. Thank you very much. I'd like to call on Councilor Bradford to share a few words.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Councilor Pasternak and Mayor Tory. It's fantastic to be here with everyone today for what is another very exciting announcement. Last year, we were all together in my community, Beaches, East York, at Crescent Town, where we were launching last year's expansion. And 1 year later, we're doing it again with another historic investment and historic rollout that's taking bike share into the further regions of the city, which I think is a really important point to touch base on. Today's very exciting because we are bringing bike share to new parts of the city. We're going into Scarborough, we're going into North York, and I want to give a shout out to my council colleagues, Councilor McKelvey, Pasternak, Peruzza, and Ainsley, who we know will be big champions for bike share in their communities. This stuff doesn't just happen by accident. It's because people are speaking up and calling for this sort of stuff. You've heard in comments throughout council as we've had these debates and discussions about how people are looking to get healthy and get active, and active transportation and cycling is a big part of that. I think one of the sort of overlooked benefits, or perhaps something that we haven't talked about, everyone knows that cycling is good for the environment, it's good for your mental health, your physical health. But right now, in light of this pandemic, it presents a real opportunity for folks to get out there and do it in a safe, physically distant way. We know that many of our trips are hyper local right now. They're in our neighborhoods. We're going to the local coffee shop, the butcher store. And as the economy starts to reopen and people want to get back out to their mom and pops and support those local businesses, active transportation is a critical way to do that. Again, today's expansion, near more than 1,800 bikes across the city is very, very important. I think we're going to see more people out cycling in the good weather. The numbers that we're seeing in terms of daily ridership and year-over-year volume in the first quarter of 2020, 100,000 more rides. It really is a tremendous uptake, and I expect that those trends will continue over the coming months. I'd like to thank Robin and Sean and Alyssa at the TPA for their work on this. It wouldn't happen without staff putting in the hours and doing that consultation on how we can integrate the station infrastructure into our neighborhoods. We are also pairing that with Active TO and all the investments for cycling infrastructure we're making across the city right now, pairing that with the bike share program. So we're putting the bikes and the resources where we have the infrastructure and protection to keep people safe. So that's it for me. Very excited about this. I think it's a wonderful investment for the city. It's a 21st century approach, and it's the perfect response for the moment we are in right now. And I'd like to thank the mayor and Councilor Pasternak for their leadership on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we will open up the floor to the media to ask questions. Just a reminder, it's one question, one follow-up. We also have Robin from TPA who can answer any questions if you have them. First up, we have Ben Spur from the Toronto Star.
Oh, I hadn't raised my hand to ask a question, so I will pass on to my colleagues if that's okay.
Sort of heard you there for a sec, Ben. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I hadn't raised my hand to ask a question, so
Just
sure
Ben, we're just having a bit of a technical issue for a moment. I just say while we're sorting that out, my own thanks, which I mentioned to the TPA and to Robin Oliphant. I guess circumstances and deliberate government decisions have made their lives more difficult the last few weeks and months. We made some steps early on in the pandemic to relax some of the parking restrictions, and I think quite properly so. I think that affected their revenues, and it made it more complicated for them to just keep up with the different kinds of changes we were making. But as you can see from this very expansion, business has carried on. This program has been well run and has been sensibly and rationally expanded over time. And I just want to say thank you to them for all of that effort, and to all the team over there. They really are unsung heroes and heroines, where they're over there just doing their job day after day. And it's something we don't hear much about, but they do a good job. And it's such an important issue that can get into quite a political debate if it's allowed to do so. And political meaning just in terms of the policies and their implementation. And we haven't seen much of that. So thank you for that. And thank you for the good administration of this business. How are we doing?
First up, we'll have Matt from Global Go.
Okay, Matt.
Hi there. I'm just wondering, when you're talking about affordability, was there any consideration in this plan to give out free memberships to make sure that more people can access this?
Well, I'll start by saying no such proposal was made to me. But I think if you look at the starting premise, which is that the cost of a membership, or the cost even more so of a single ride, I think is relatively inexpensive. There's no question but that if you made it free, like anything else, if you made transit free, more people would use transit. That's desirable, but you then have to ask yourself, would you have the capacity to deal with it, and do we have the money right now? We've benefited from the fact we've had the support of other governments, plus some contribution from other Toronto Parking Authority revenues to make this program work financially. I think we're in a position to invest as we are, but I'm not sure we were in a position, had it come forward to me, to say that we want to make it free, both in terms of delivering on the capacity and on being able to finance it. Have you had any discussions that you want to talk to about that, Robin? No. Yeah, I mean, Robin points out a membership itself is $8 a month, so that gives you basically unlimited use of the network, and a single ride is $3.25. That's the more expensive way to use it, but it's still not really beyond what people would pay for a ride on the transit system.
And I'm just wondering, how much did it cost to expand the program to what it is now?
It's about $5 million, going from my memory. I'll get this right. I think $5 million from the Ontario cycling program, $1.75 million from Toronto Parking Authority revenues, and I think that about covers it.
No, you won't get enough.
You want to come up? Why don't you come up and just
Good morning. The expansion this afternoon being announced is 11.25 million. 9 million is coming from the Ontario Municipal Community Cycling Program. Across the span, we've had support from Metrolinx as well as the federal PTIF. And I believe in total it's about 28 million across the whole span of the 5 years.
Just wondering, you were talking about just how much ridership is up. In the past couple of weeks, especially since Active TO has jumped on, have you been able to track where bikes are starting and finishing and seeing what the average distance people are sort of traveling with this is?
Well, the launch starts.
Just lower the mic a little bit more.
Our expansion starts tomorrow, but our experience this year, we do track beginning and end transits. We know that right now the average ride is under 30 minutes. And we're hoping that, as the summer progresses and more people try through Active TO adopting and using the cycling system, that they'll enjoy it, see how easy it is, that it's fun and cheap, and we'll continue to do so as we reopen.
Okay, we're gonna give this another shot. Can I get Jenny from the Toronto Sun? One question, one follow-up.
Oh, hi there. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Mark, I'm coming through, but very low.
Okay, so we're having audio issues, so Matt will read out questions as we get them.
What a time to be alive. This is from Ben Spur from the Toronto Star. His question is about the TTC. Has the mayor received any indication that the federal and provincial governments will provide enough funding to bail out the TTC? And how long can the TTC keep operating if it doesn't get a bailout?
Well, the bottom line is the TTC is going to keep operating. The question is at what level of service. And I was on the phone, as it were, yesterday, or on a virtual conference with the Minister of Finance and the big city mayors who have a similar concern to ours, although our transit system is by far the biggest. I had a meeting yesterday with my GTA mayoral colleagues from the 10 biggest cities in the GTA. I was talking to the Minister of Finance for the province, Rod Phillips, and I can just say, as I did yesterday at our media briefing, the time for them to come forward, and especially in regard to transit, but not limited to transit, and indicate the kind of support they're going to give to the city so that we can keep a robust level of service going on the transit system to help people to get to work and to get to where they need to go, is now. There seems to be some sort of constitutional, as I described it yesterday, a constitutional two-step. It's jousting, it's sparring, it's dancing, it's fencing, but it's over. It should be over. And the province has made, the federal government has made a first move on this, and they put some money on the table. I look at it as playing a card that is far less than an ace, but we haven't had any card played by the provinces yet, and we've made that request of them. And that is going to have a direct effect. And I told the finance minister this personally, I don't mind saying this to you. I indicated to the Minister of Finance for Canada that the consequence of no help coming from those governments for transit could be as much as a 50% reduction in the transit service offered to the people of Toronto. To me, that is profoundly unacceptable as a matter of just acceptable policy. It is profoundly unacceptable to the recovery of the economy. And I don't believe any of those other governments accept that for a minute either. But in order to forestall that kind of thing from being forced upon us, either that or some kind of a massive tax increase, which is also unacceptable at this point, then they have to come forward and tell us what they're going to do. So I'm an optimist about this. We have been having lots of discussion. There has been a move made by the federal government, albeit a modest one. And now it's over to the province and up to them to indicate what they're going to do to help us out. And I'm relying on the Premier, having said a couple of times during the pandemic that he is mindful of the need to help cities, but also to help transit.
Just to follow up from Ben here, is there a firm date by which the TTC will have to be dramatically cut or see its service cut absence of a bailout?
We are proceeding at the moment on the timetable of what I believe to be rationality and a degree of optimism, namely to have a service plan considered by the board that will have a very robust level of service. As you know, the TTC has been forced to take some economies because of the drop in ridership and the drop in revenue, but we're proceeding on the basis that it defies all logic and defies all common sense to think we're not going to get any help with the transit, and therefore we are not looking at this moment in time at any kind of drastic reduction of the kind that could become necessary if they don't help. I'm pressing ahead using all of my energy, not on drawing up doomsday plans, but on helping Mr. Leary draw up plans to provide good service and to be able to take account of the health concerns we now have to add on top of that for people to use the transit safely.
Okay, that's it for now. Sorry for the technical difficulties. If you do have any questions, you can just email us directly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I sent you
Sorry for
that.
my error, Matt, on the, I only am familiar with our contribution to 1.75 million.